You're a cantaloupe.
5 long years he wore this watch up his ass.
These are my cactuses. I put googly eyes on them.
Sometimes when I'm driving, I have this sudden impulse to turn the wheel quickly, head on into the oncoming car.
Peter Pan has found a mother.
You want me to say what? Like, I don't get it. Is that it?
The ice is gonna break!
All right, welcome back to Walken 101, the podcast where we watch every single project Christopher Walken has done in chronological order. That could be movie, TV show, play, whatever we can find. My name is Kenny Johnson, documentary filmmaker, editor, all-around good guy. And with me is
Brandon Hardesty, actor, movie watcher.
Yeah, you made a documentary as well. We've made a couple documentaries.
Yeah, we've worked together on a couple things.
So this is episode 2, and for this one, oh boy, we started off very interestingly. Last episode we gave a very kind of broad overview of Walken, what we're trying to do with this project. We watched the Inside the Actor Studio with him just kind of describing his methods on acting and a little bit of his background in life, bringing or a little bit of his background in life. So for this one, oh boy, episode 2, we watched what was it called?
It was called Me and My Brother, and it came out in 1969. And do you want to describe it, or
I don't even really know how to describe it. You probably have a synopsis that's better than mine. So,
well,
what do you got? I mean, it's first off 69, super experimental. This was very experimental and very hard to watch, even for today's standards. I feel like.
Definitely. We going into this, we had just eaten Chipotle, and although you seemed pretty unfazed, you were very patient.
Yeah.
I had a double chicken burrito bowl, and we sat down and we started to watch this movie, and it is an hour and a half of fucking nonsense, experimental bullshit, 1960s shit.
Yeah.
And I usually like to think of myself as a patient moviegoer. I was fidgeting in my chair like a child. At one point, I laid on the floor for 15 minutes watching it.
You did.
If I felt like I was going to die.
Yeah.
It was
complete madness because it is a movie about schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And it took a good couple minutes for me to kind of figure it out. The first 15 minutes, I had no idea what was going on. Mm-hmm. It was, I think there was some type of, there's a traffic light or a stop sign, and it was just like a slow pan in or zoom into this sign. It's a completely dark street, and it has red letters like "Stop here," something.
Yeah, like "Do not walk" or something.
And there's a monologue, and it's going, and it's about this guy saying, "Okay, we're gonna." I think he's talking to his brother Julius, and he's saying, "Julius, we're gonna go to this person who films people having sex, and we're gonna do this." And like, and then it's in this room, and there's we're assuming it's the person who was talking, and he's saying, "Julius, why don't you come over here and watch me?" And he starts making out with this other man.
Yeah.
And then there's a director, and he's saying, "Come on, Julius, don't you want to watch, or don't you want to do this?"
And a lot of it is like obviously ADR.
Yes.
It's all dubbed. And it's really off-putting. You're not sure what's going on. It throws you like chaotically into this movie. You don't know what it is.
And then it goes to a scene of audience members watching the movie that they were just shooting. Mm-hmm. And it's like everyone in the theater is like, "This isn't real. This doesn't make any sense. This movie is awful. Julius doesn't seem like this person, or we don't know who this is. This acting?" And people are getting up and leaving. Yeah. And then they show on the screen, the title sequence, Me and My Brother, mm-hmm. and starring Peter and Julius Orlowski, I believe is their last names. And and then it just goes into even more badness. And there's Allen Ginsberg in it. And for those who don't know who Allen Ginsberg is, he's this basically a famous poet in the 50s, 60s, kind of leader of the Beat generation. And so right there, you know what you're getting yourselves into when you hear Allen Ginsberg. And I saw that in the credits. I'm like, oh boy. And then I saw it was also written by Sam Shepard, an acclaimed playwright, major actor. Yeah. And this was, I think, his first movie. And so we're like, wow, what is...
This is at least his first film debut.
Yeah. The whole time, we're sitting there. We're wondering, okay, when is Walken gonna appear?
That's what we're waiting for at this point. We're like, okay, it's starting to feel more and more like a waste of time. Yeah. And we're really hoping, considering how off the wall this is, maybe he's gonna have a lot of material to work with, and it's gonna be fun to watch with. Walken's role was relegated to playing. I mean, if you're familiar with, let's say Charlie Kaufman and something like Adaptation or Synecdoche, New York, where it's like about a movie about the making of a movie about the making of a movie, and it gets real meta. So Christopher Walken plays a director and he's casting an actor to play the real Peter Orlovsky, which, by the way, there's actual footage of Peter Orlovsky. It looks like it started out as a documentary,
right? And
then they just added some shit to it after they dropped LSD. Right. I mean, I don't know.
It seemed like it started off as a simple documentary about schizophrenia. It focuses on this character named, or this person named Julius. And he has schizophrenia, and somehow he ended up in a mental institution. His brother went and got him, and now it's about them trying to cope with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And at one point the movie almost kind of stops, the documentary part. We can't tell if it's a documentary or if it's a mockumentary or what, and that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to kind of
reeling the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's supposed to tug on the whole themes of, what is real? What are you watching? Is that real, or has it been twisted in some way to shape someone else's image? Is it supposed to be saying some other message, or is it supposed to be like complete truths? That's what the whole thing is about. But it's still such a hard movie to watch because they're trying to make it seem, you're supposed to be watching it as an audience member. You're supposed to kind of feel that schizophrenia, essentially, because it's cutting around from black and white to color to using actors to using real people. You don't know what's up. You don't know what's down. You have no idea what it's supposed to be. But in the end, you feel insane. You feel so insane. And so getting back to the Christopher Walken role, I guess he's supposed to play the director. He's supposed to be an actor who's pretending to be the director of the movie. And they even overdub his voice with the real director of this film's voice.
Yeah, so there's footage of him, but there's no, like, he started speaking, and I thought, wow, he sounded a lot different when he was younger. But we looked it up, and it's his voice was dubbed by the actual director of the movie.
That's correct. And he was in it, talking. He's in a movie theater, and I guess he's kind of auditioning this one person to play Julius.
Right.
He's auditioning an actor to play Julius. And if you're confused listening to this, that's exactly what we're going for, because we were so confused watching this. And I think, I don't want to, be like, oh, I know all about artsy movies and this and that, but I have a higher tolerance for it. And
well, you were certainly, while I was really checking out and really trying to pay attention. Again, I felt like a 6-year-old fidgety child for the first time in a long time. But you were still vigilant and noticing things I wasn't noticing and actually taking notes. So good on you for that.
Yeah. But it's still not an easy movie to sit through at all.
Yeah.
Oh man, and I can only hope it gets better from here.
I mean, it must.
We started off at such a, I don't even know. I don't want to say low, but my God, it's got to be easier from here. I can't wait until we get to the rundown with The Rock. I hate that movie. But this one.
Yeah, and what's there's not much Walken to really talk about.
There isn't.
He was in the movie. He added to the chaos. He played his part.
He was the most normal thing in the movie.
Actually, yeah.
If you think about it, because he was just very simple, very straightforward. His performance was, I don't even know how to really explain it. It was like he's the director, right? He's trying to give notes to this actor. And another big theme in this movie is acting and lying. And does the camera lie? Does it capture real things? So Walken kind of had this weird uneasiness to him, almost like he knew what was going on, but no one else did. Right. So he kind of knew what was happening, and he did a very good job at kind of doing that.
Yeah.
And he looked, it's crazy because he had this really suave look to him. He had this nice jacket. He just looked like the coolest dude in the whole movie.
Yeah. Totally. And I guess he was right around, let's see, how old was he? He was probably about 25 years old when he did this. And I also like to think about where he was in his career when he did this. Like he's in New York. He's acting in plays, and I guess all of these people involved in this film, they were all just, maybe they all knew each other or were acquaintances with each other. They're all kind of knocking around the same area of New York in the late 60s. And he just got involved. I mean, I can only assume how he got involved, but it seems like...
Do you think he watched this movie or saw it?
You know what? I don't know. I think probably because it's his first feature film that he was in.
Right.
I mean, technically, if you look at it, 1969, this was his first feature film, and I can't imagine. I mean, a lot of actors say, like Johnny Depp, I don't watch a lot of what I've done.
Yeah,
but,
of course. I would say that.
I think he probably did. I mean, I was excited to see the first movie I acted in. Mm-hmm. I was like, where's it going to be? Is it going to be in theaters? Let's watch it. Like, it's exciting. Mm-hmm. So or maybe he had enough exposure to acting on stage where that was gone and it was just another job to him. I can't, you don't know. Because the attitude that we watched when he was in on the Inside the Actor Studio was, it really is just a job. But that was decades later. Maybe this is a young, excited Walken, and he went to go see himself.
Right. I'm wondering how he felt. I wonder if he knew that he was going to be overdubbed with the actual real director's voice. Mm-hmm. That's interesting, because I feel like you're missing out on a big piece of the actor's performance when you can't hear their voice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it wasn't... Yeah, it wasn't him. It didn't feel like him.
Now look straight at the camera. I should be able to see your face. All I can see is your hands. Move your hands. Just look straight at me and try not to shiver. You can smoke if you want. Good. Now bite the apple.
Didn't feel like him, and I could have swore at one point that they used his voice to overdub another actor's voice.
I wouldn't be surprised. It was fucking chaos.
Yeah,
they were. That wouldn't be the strangest thing that they did in this movie.
Because I thought at the beginning, I was like, "Who is this talking?" Because once again, it's a monologue. Somebody off screen. We have no idea who's talking. It sounded a lot like Christopher Walken, and it was kind of a crazy monologue of, hey Julius, we're gonna go and we're gonna go, and this guy's gonna film us having sex. And it's going to be this, and it's going to be that. Don't you want to watch it, Julius? Don't you want to do this?
Julius.
And I was like,
Julius.
I don't know. Do we want to? And they kept saying his name, Julius.
Julius.
Every single person in the movie
Julius
would just say Julius.
Don't you have the same eyes as me, Julius?
And you're like, nobody says that. Julius. Nobody says another person's name that much in real life. Yeah. So, oh man. Okay, so I found a synopsis here.
Okay.
There's a bunch of synopsises on Wikipedia. I even found a review that somebody made back in 1969.
Wait a minute. I have a synopsis too, and it has a little bit about... I'm sorry. I misread. I thought it was some actual behind the scenes
great.
things.
Thanks for wasting time on the podcast.
That was awful.
All right.
some great...
I'm not cutting that out. Okay. Me and my brother, the title, are interchangeable. Peter Orlovsky, poet and protege of Allen Ginsberg. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Peter, by the way, with long hair. I think he had a Rasta type of... Mm-hmm. I don't know what he had on, but it was definitely crazy. And a schizophrenic brother, Julius. Peter arranges for Julius's release from Bellevue and proceeds to drag him all over the beat landscape with a film crew in tow. Robert Frank does Yowman work, following the manic Peter and catatonic Julius from one situation to another situation until Julius wanders off camera and out of the picture. At this point, the actor Joseph Chaikin takes Julius' place and fills in for a time. So literally the movie just kind of replaces Julius with an actor. And I thought for the longest time that the Julius, the actual Julius, was an actor.
Yeah.
I was like, is that supposed to be him? Because they kind of reenacted some scenes with him, and I was like, oh, it's a documentary, but they reenacted it.
And it took almost to the end of the movie, at least for me, to realize that, to recognize what was actual documentary footage and what was a film. And also it says here, just a quick note, it begins as a portrait of a relationship. Sorry, I'm reading from a website here, between poet Peter Orlovsky and his brother Julius, a catatonic schizophrenic, along with mentor and lover Allen Ginsberg.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Orlovsky shows his brother around the beat scene, blah, blah, blah. So, they were lovers. I didn't know that.
The overall effect is fascinating, and the film has a great deal to say about what we consider normal and acceptable behavior versus what we consider mad behavior. Yeah, great. That's a great theory, but it's hard to watch a movie like that because you will go insane.
Yeah, I mean, as we're watching, there were parts of it that drew us in more. There were interesting ideas, but it would
go off in a crazy direction where we would just follow a random person, and then they would kind of do like, okay, there's a black guy. He was, I think, in there's a scene where Julius was in a dentist chair. Then they took out Julius and put in the actor, and then they took out the actor and put in this other guy, who's this random black dude. And then all of a sudden, the black dude is on a subway train, and he's listening to music, and there is a nun sitting next to him, and this other kind of crazy guy is, I think, huffing glue or doing something. He's got something in a bag, and he's just smelling it, and he tries to get the nun to smell it as well, and she does, and then they kind of wander off.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess it's supposed to be like, this split personality, going back to that whole thing of saying what we consider mad behavior, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we can guess.
There's a lot of talking, random talking in it.
Yeah.
You have no idea who's talking, what's talking. You definitely feel schizophrenic at the end. They did a great job of doing that. I don't... Yeah,
there's really not much else to say about this.
Really not much else to say. We watched it for free online. I almost want my money back somehow.
We found it. Someone had uploaded it on Vimeo, and I don't know how we would have found this otherwise. I don't know if it was for sale on Amazon as part of a Robert Frank director collection or something.
No clue.
Who knows? In any case,
Christopher Walken in it for maybe 10 minutes.
If that.
Most normal part of the movie. We did find out a good tidbit about him. I don't think this is news to anybody. I mean, you're a really big fan of Christopher Walken. His original name was Ronnie Walken.
Yep.
Didn't he have a credit in the movie as Ronnie Walken? Like one credit?
Not in this movie, but when he was younger, it looks like from 1953 through 1963 on IMDb, he was credited as Ronnie Walken in different projects when he was a child actor up until the point where he was about 20 years old. And then at some point, according to Wikipedia, he changed it to Christopher, and he prefers to go by Chris.
What if he actually had a twin brother named Ronnie, and Chris got really jealous of him and then murdered Ronnie and then took his name
and threw him off a boat?
Oh, wow.
Hey, allegedly.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. How we will cover it.
Should we even talk about that? I don't know. I feel like if we ever want to have Christopher Walken on this podcast ever...
I don't think he's going to listen to every episode. We just can't talk about it in every episode. We'll give him an episode where we don't mention it.
Right.
But Ronnie Walken was in this movie.
Yes, he was. That's about all we can say.
Right. I mean, is there anything else, any other areas we want to jump into? Any other maybe interesting Walken facts we can find about this movie? We don't really know. I wonder if we interview him today, will he remember of being in this? He'll probably be like, no.
It might be such a blur. He's had such a large career. I don't know. I feel like even no matter how big your career is, you'll always remember the first thing you did.
Right. Oh God, I want to be a fly on a wall for this movie, the making of this movie. Mm-hmm. It got interesting towards the end.
It did,
because they interviewed Julius. The director was interviewing Julius, and they were talking about like what is real and how do you feel about acting and how do you feel about the camera, and they shot it through a glass window. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's like, this, like, it's all about like kind of this one, going back to another theme we always circle around with Walken is perception. Like, what do people think of this one thing? You know, what do they think it's like this, but it's really like that. You know. So, you know, he had this actor, or he had the real Julius sitting there talking about it, a person with schizophrenia, talking about truth and trying to find out, you know, does the camera lie? Does newspaper lie? The news, because a lot of things they would be holding newspapers in this, and there'd always be articles, and people would be pointing out, you know, this movie isn't real, but this newspaper is. You know, is that real at the end of the day? Who the hell knows? I feel like that's kind of fitting for Christopher Walken, right? Like he likes a lot of that stuff. He likes to figure out the truth and feeling, and kind of just jumping in headfirst and seeing what he gets, I guess. Yeah,
and there's an aspect of Walken where we're not really sure what's real and what's not.
Right.
The way he performs when he's interviewing is when he's being interviewed on Inside the Actors Studio. We were talking like,
is that a performance?
Is that a performance, or is he being himself?
Who knows?
Or is it both?
Is there a real twin brother, Ronnie Walken, that Chris somehow
just
took over,
smothered in his sleep, or just they were in the womb and he just absorbed him.
Ronnie
somehow.
was going to be the successful one, and Chris knew it. But then he took his name, or no, maybe I'm doing it backwards. So he's really Ronnie,
right?
And he had a successful brother named Chris, and then Ronnie killed Chris, and then took the mantle of Chris. And the Christopher Walken now is really Ronnie Walken.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that's it. All right, so that was episode 2. A little bit of a short one, I would say. We don't really know what else to talk about in this movie. That could be a thing that we're going to have to definitely look into, because some of the roles that Chris is going to be in are going to be very short.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, he might. I mean, look at
Annie Hall, for example. One scene, right, and he just has a monologue.
One scene, monologue. Actually, a couple scenes, but the other scenes he doesn't really have dialogue.
Right.
But there's actually more to talk about there than here.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah, there's nothing here almost. But,
there really isn't. He did great.
Yeah,
Chris, if you're watching, or if you're listening, Chris, if you're listening, you did so good in this movie.
Yep.
I'm not lying. I'm not trying to be facetious or anything like that. It was actually, I was like, when he appeared on screen, I'm like, oh yes. All right. So the reason why we're watching this.
He belonged in the universe of the movie. And really, whenever you're acting in a project, the number one thing you have to ask yourself is, how do I serve the material? And that's what he did, you know.
Chipotle was a bad idea.
Yeah, I think it was. I got all 3 salsas: the mild, medium, and hot. And the whole thing was very heavy.
Yeah,
I felt like I was going to fall asleep afterwards, and then I had to watch a movie that I had no patience for.
Chipotle, if you're listening, we love you. Can you please sponsor the show and get us free food? It's no knock against you. Your food's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Food is phenomenal. This movie was not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. All right. Well, that concludes episode 2. Please, like always, subscribe, share, like us, do all that good stuff, all the social media good stuff. Definitely subscribe to this podcast. We'll be doing a lot more. We're going to keep doing them. We have 120 some more to go. Who knows? Yep. He could end up making a lot more movies by the time we finish this, so this could be going on for a little bit. Will there ever be a stopping point?
I mean, really, as long as he keeps acting, we're gonna catch up to him eventually. He seems to be less active in his golden years. But
all right, well, join us next episode, please, and everyone listening, keep listening.
Yeah, thanks, guys.